Mark Lackey is Executive VP of CHF Capital Markets. He comes every week and joins us. And Mark, quite honestly, when graphite was suggested, I said, why?
Well, you know, Pat, graphite, interestingly enough, when I was in the business and we had mining opportunities, if we hit graphite back in 15, 20 years ago, we were upset because the graphite price was $500 a ton and nobody wanted it. And that was because basically it was too much graphite coming out of China. But as times moved on, we got into the early kind of 2000s, 2004, 2005, we started seeing expansion of steel and autos dramatically in China and India. And we started seeing more uses for graphite in things like spark plugs, auto engines, wheelbases, brakes, and the steel sector, and even in things like lubricants. So graphite started to get
lithium
more...
batteries, I saw too.
That's a good point, Pat. The lithium-ion batteries is another place where graphite is used. So uses started to increase, and we now have seen China has taken a more proactive approach, and they have an export tax, and they're starting to restrict some of that export. So now we're up to...
Because they want to keep the graphite in-house?
Absolutely, because they recognize, well, look at their auto sector, Pat. If you'd said to me a few years ago there's going to be 20 million cars produced in 2014 in China, I would have said, gee, Pat, you're pretty optimistic. Well, there's 20 million being produced.
Except that pencils have been around forever. I mean, there's graphite everywhere.
Well, and then, in fact, graphite's been around for a long time. It's had these uses, Pat. But I think as time has gone on and people are looking for, you know, lighter, stronger materials. I mean, this is fire retardant. It's a good conductor. And so, again, as markets change, for some commodities, like a graphite or even a magnesium, these start to change and become more important to the kind of products we're producing. So when I look at the demand side and I see strength in the auto sector and strength in the steel sector and a growing use for these batteries, whether they be cell phones or smartphones or electric cars, then I'm seeing a rising demand for graphite. And so that's where this market is starting to change. And we're sitting at about, as I say, $1,350, $1,400 a ton right now.
Okay, so what are you forecasting in terms of price, and what are the companies we're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at about $1,450 next year, $1,550 the year after. The key, Pat, is that down the road, if there are some other uses, and I'm not going to forecast technologies that aren't out there yet like graphene, but if it happens, then prices could go up considerably in the next 5 to 10 years. And the one point I'll make quickly on supply, China has been, as I said, restricting supply, and they're getting out of those small, inefficient mines which pollute a lot, because that will serve the purpose of really helping to clean up China's air. It's not all coal, Pat. It's a lot of those small mining companies in various areas that are creating the problem for China's air.
Okay, so tell me about Zenyatta Ventures.
Well, this is interesting, Pat, because most graphite that's found in the world is found as flakes or it's synthetic. And there's two places in the world where you have these breccia pipes. Northwestern Ontario, which Zenyatta has found, and Sri Lanka. So what Zenyatta has is a project that actually will have among the highest quality graphite in the world, as high as 99.9%. So that's what makes this situation so interesting. I mean, the stock price has had a pretty good move in the last few years. And that's in spite of the fact that basically the graphite price in the last year or so has been pretty much going sideways. So I think, though, that because it's a unique deposit, it offers investors an interesting opportunity, because if you want leverage to the graphite market, this is certainly one of the ways to go. I think natural graphite makes more sense than synthetic graphite. Okay.
The two other names, and we've run out of time because the Attorney General report is getting headlines: Metals Creek Resources and Mason Graphite.
Okay, quickly on Metals Creek, they have the property right beside Zenyatta. So it's an area play, and they're drilling this now because, frankly, Pat, they've been a gold play, an interesting looking play, but now they've got a play besides Zenyatta it's worth looking at.
Okay.
And on Mason, quickly, that's a very large deposit. It's more of a traditional graphite, but very high, large deposit in Quebec. And the Quebec management team has put graphite mines into production. So that's why we like Mason.
Mark, thanks so much.
Great to be here, Pat.
Mark Lackey, Executive VP, CHF Capital Markets. Let's get back to hard news.